Don't start timing yet. I'm not resigning from the presidency. That's just the speech title. And I have to a quick introduction of the speech. Essentially, how many people here have heard of the Watergate scandal? Okay. Very few. So this revolves around that. This is the speech of President Nixon when he resigned from the presidency, when the House of Representatives moved the motion for impeachment. Apparently, some people broke into the committee's office, and later it was discovered they were trying to remove some investigative papers which would have indicted him. And he later confessed and was impeached. Rather give time. So, the speech is when he resigned the presidency. Good evening. This is the 37th time I have spoken to you from this office, where so many decisions have been made that shaped the history of this nation. Each time I have done this to discuss with you some matter that I believe has affected the national interest. In all the decisions that I have made in my public life, I have always tried to do what was best for the nation. Throughout the long and difficult period of Watergate, I have felt it was my duty to persevere, to make every possible effort to complete this term of office. In the past few days, however, it has become evident to me that I no longer have a strong enough political base to make the Congress just continue its effort. As long as there was such a base, I thought it was necessary to see the constitutional process through to its conclusion. But with the disappearance of that base, I now believe that constitutional purpose has been served, and there is no need for the process to be prolonged. From the discussions I have had with congressional and other leaders, I have concluded that because of the Watergate matter, I might not have the support of Congress that would be necessary to back all the difficult decisions and duties of this office that are necessary to serve the purpose of the nation. I have never been a quitter. I find it abhorrent to have to leave office before concluding my term. But as president, I must put the interests of America first. America needs a full-time president and a full-time Congress, particularly at this time with the problems that we face at home and abroad. Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective noon tomorrow. Vice President Ford will be sworn in as president at that hour in this office. As I recall the very high hopes I had for America and the hopes with which I began the second term, I feel a great sadness when I realize that I will not be in this office anymore, working on your behalf to achieve those objectives. But in turning over the direction of the government, the control to Vice President Ford, I know, as I told the nation when I nominated him for this post, that the leadership of America will be in good hands. As he assumes that responsibility, he will deserve the help and support of all of us. As we look to the future, the first essential task is to begin healing the wounds of the nation, to put the bitterness and divisions of the past behind us, and to rediscover the shared ideals that lie at the heart of our strength and unity as a great nation, as America. By taking this action, I hope I have hastened the start of that process of healing. I regret deeply any injuries that may have been done in the course of events that have just passed. I would only say that if some of my judgments were wrong, and I know some of them were, they were all done keeping the interests of the nation in mind, doing what I believed would be keeping the interests of the nation in mind. To those who have stood with me in these very difficult and dark months, my family, my friends, and to many others who supported my cause because they believed, like me, that it was right, I will be eternally grateful for your support. And to those who have not been able to give me that support, I leave with absolutely no bitterness. Because in the final analysis, all of us were indeed working towards what we respectively felt was better for the nation. All of us were right in our own views. I shall leave this office without the privilege of completing the whole term, but with the gratitude of serving as your president for 5.5 years. These years have been a momentous time in the history of our nation and the world indeed. They have been a time of achievements and achievements that we could all be proud of. Achievements that represent the shared efforts of the administration, the Congress, and the people, the citizens of America. The challenges ahead, though, are equally great, and they too will require the support of the Congress and the people working in cooperation with the new administration to be headed by Vice President Ford. We have ended America's longest war, but in the work of securing a lasting peace, the goals ahead are even more far-reaching and even more difficult. We must complete a structure of peace so that it could be said of our generation of Americans, and said by people of all nations, that not only did we end this war, but we also ended future wars. We prevented future wars. We have unlocked the doors that have stood between us and the Republic of China. In the Middle East, 100 million people who most of them till date consider us their enemies, now they count us as friends. We must continue to build on that friendship though. Together with the Soviet Union, one of our biggest achievements, together with them we have begun the process of limiting nuclear arms. We must though set our goal as not just limiting, but reducing and finally destroying these terrible weapons so that they cannot destroy civilization and so that we lift the cloud of nuclear war that is perpetually hanging over us. We must ensure that we alleviate this threat and this threat ceases to exist for the betterment of America and of the world. We have opened the new relation with the Soviet Union and we must continue to develop and to expand that so that the two strongest nations of the world live together in cooperation rather than confrontation. For more than a quarter of a century in public life, I had shared in the turbulent history of this era. I have fought for what I believed in. I have tried to the best of my abilities to discharge the duties and the responsibilities that were entrusted to me. Sometimes I have succeeded, sometimes I have failed. But always, I have taken heart from what Theodore Roosevelt once said about the man in the arena. What he said was, the man in the arena whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again because there is no effort without error and shortcomings, but who does actually strive to do the deed, who knows the great enthusiasms, great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumphs of high achievements, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails by daring greatly. I pledge to you that as long as I have a breath of life in my body, I shall continue in the spirit. I shall continue to work for the great causes to which I have been dedicated throughout my years as a congressman. This is one cause to which I have been devoted above all, and shall be devoted to for as long as I live. When I first took the oath of office as president 5.5 years ago, I made the sacred commitment to consecrate my office, my energies, and all the wisdom I can summon to the cause of peace among nations. I have done my very best in all these days to be true to that pledge. And as a result of these efforts, I am confident that the world is a much safer place today for people not just of America, but of all nations. And that all of our children have a better chance than before of living in peace than of dying in war. This, more than anything, is what I hope to achieve when I start the presidency. And this, more than anything, is what I hope will be my legacy to you, my country, as I leave the presidency. To have served in this office is to have felt a very personal sense of kinship with each and every American. In leaving it, I do so with this prayer. May God's grace be with you. Thank God.